the government in Australia here, the no jab, no play policy applying to kids and childcare centres. Well, that's essentially just turned the vaccine industry into a cartel. This is a protection racket now. A government-run protection racket. Taxis were a government-run protection racket, and eventually Uber broke that protection racket, right? So all around us, and when we actually stop and see it, it's one of those horrible moments where once you see it, you can't unsee it. You can't go back into the matrix, so to speak. Once you see how the world really works around you. So nationalisation is happening all around us. It's happening in Australia. It is happening in America. However, it's a little bit different in the sense that when the government is the problem in the first place, I kind of throw my hands up in the air when they go, yeah, well, we'll fix this by telling them what their price is. Oh, stuff is all. A pox on all of your houses. The government and the drug companies that have been killing people and profiting off it for decades. That's a horrible situation that's unfolding there. I was hopeful that we would see radical deregulation as opposed to increased regulation over new aspects of that industry. But anyway. So nationalisation. And the last one, this is the only one that isn't happening yet. But when you see this, it's time to go and join your buddy in Cyprus. Because this is the warning. Capital controls.
Well, they're being talked about.
They are being talked about. So capital controls take many forms. There can be actual restrictions. Oh, you can't take your money out of the country, etc. Well, we're already being told we can't take our money out of the bank. You want to buy crypto, you want to just get some cash just to have on hand, these sorts of things. Well, you'd better explain to us exactly what you're doing with this money. Thank you very much. But capital controls in Venezuela took the form of government-controlled exchange rates. Government-controlled interest rates, obviously, we already have. That's a form of capital control and certainly a form of nationalization of money. But in the form of controlled exchange rates. So if I tapped my card in Venezuela and bought something over the counter, it would exchange the US dollars that my card was in to bolivars at 4-1. But if I went to a black market or a real market cash exchanger, they would change it at 250-1. Right? That was the spread. And then the government had multiple different official rates in between. Now, you guys are all business people. You can already see the opportunity. If there are radically different exchange rates, arbitrage, right? Bring it in this way, send it out that way, keep the difference, right? Well, that's where quotas come in and controls come in, where that's the rate, but you can't just access that whenever you want to. You're going to be told how much of that you can get or whether you can get it. One of the most striking things in Venezuela was walking through their shopping centers. And remember, this is a place that had money. Some of these shopping centers and things are beautiful. They're lovely. You walk through and there's a shop fully stocked shelves. And you know that the owner of that store or that chain of stores has connections politically because they're able to sell things in bolivars and then exchange their money out to import new clothing or whatever it is into US dollars at an exchange rate that they can still actually use. But that's not the black market exchange rate. Then next door, so the most striking example was a Furla store. And if you don't know what Furla is, your wife or girlfriend will, okay? High-end fashion design, etc. There's an entire store there. I've got a photograph of it. They had 3 pairs of sunglasses and 1 handbag, and that's all they had on the shelves. And you know that the owners of that store did not have the connections. And here's the problem. If they shut the store down, they get thrown in prison by the government because the government has said there is a capitalist plot to make the government look bad. So anyone that goes out of business, you are a part of that plot and you go to prison. So there's an attendant sitting at the back of this store that has 0 chance of ever selling anything. And the owners of that store have to keep losing money, keeping that store open because that's the ransom they pay to not go to prison. And that's the reality of capital controls. Once they start controlling the interest rates or the exchange rates, that you can get, changing your money in and out. The moment you see active capital controls, restrictions on capital flight, these sorts of things, I would suggest you want to be rigging up your buddy in Cyprus.
Can I just say for everyone out there, for myself as well, you've given us the 5 points of Marxism, capitalism, or communism.
Well, I'll say specifically the 5 points that I observed at work in Venezuela, and I'm using as my way markers in Australia.
So just to put a ribbon around it, what's the ultimate upside for the people who are implementing this stuff?
So a lot of it is they actually believe it works.
Right, so they're not power hungry like Putin is.
I would suggest that anyone that wants to be in public life has some degree of power hungry, something about them to one degree or another. But these people, what makes them so dangerous, in the words of the author who wrote *Lion, the Wits and Wardrobe*, C.S. Lewis, of all tyrannies, a tyranny sincerely exercised for the good of its victims may be the most oppressive. because the tyrant oppresses with the approval of their conscience. And that's actually the situation that happens here. These people, Robert Mugabe, I don't believe thought that he was going in there to destroy Rhodesia or Zimbabwe as it became. He went in there to bring justice and prosperity to my people. And then a whole bunch of them starved to death after they shot each other for a while. The same thing's happening in South Africa. The same things, when Hugo Chavez came in Venezuela, it was not his intention to take them from the richest country in South America to being in the poorest countries in the world. That's not what he had in mind. He sincerely believed that he was going to lead them into a new and prosperous future. Karl Marx believed that his ideas worked.
There's an argument to be made that the Trump doesn't matter, the political party in Australia doesn't really matter, that the reason that we're going through what we're currently going through is because of the stage we are in the historical cycle, right? That these people are just figures of the stage that we are currently going through. If you've read The Fourth Turning, that kind of stuff, right? And it's like, and the thing that leads to these changes is equality, and the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer, and then those things lead to the wealth inequalities, and then they lead to these policies, and it's just something that happens as part of the times.
So there is some truth in there, but there is also a very, very deep lie in there, and that is the poor are not getting poorer. By every single metric, the poor, you would rather be a poor person in
it's just the wealth disparity.
So what you're saying is the increase in welfare is making it a lot easier for them.
No. The increase in global prosperity.
Yeah.
If you had to pick a moment in time to be poor.
Oh, I understand. Like,
So the gap between the rich and the poor is getting greater, but the poor are not getting poorer.
Like you're not going to die of starvation in Australia.
Not in Australia, and increasingly not in the rest of the world. There's still more work to be done. I'm not dismissing that, but the progress that's been made in the last 40 years on global poverty is just astonishing. And and this has been studied. So an American university studied. They went and asked a whole bunch of university students or college students in America, would you want to swap with John D. Rockefeller when he was the richest man in the world? And I'm like, yeah.
Didn't even have a fridge.
Hell yeah, of course I would. Okay, just hold that thought. Let's go through how he lived. Let's go through the practical realities of his life, how he traveled, how he communicated, what he ate, what medicines,